The Sims series, a titan in the world of gaming, is one of the most recognizable franchises of all time. From its groundbreaking launch in 2000s to its controversial current state, it has defined the genre of life simulation. However, somewhere along the way, The Sims began to falter. What happened? How did the game, what allowed us to create and control entire virtual lives, lose its way? In this video, we're going to explore the story of The Sims, how it started, what made it too successful, and ultimately how it fell from grace. The story of Sims begins with the imagination of one man, Will Wright, the creator of Sim City. In the mid-1990s, Wright conceived of the idea what was at the time radically different from anything in gaming. Instead of focusing on building cities or civilizations, Wright wanted to create a game about the everyday lives of individuals, something like a digital dollhouse. He was inspired by personal experiences, including the process of rebuilding his own life after a house fire. But when Wright first pitched this concept, it didn't sound too promising to EA, the game's eventual publisher. The idea of a life simulator where players would control characters in their daily lives, managing tasks like eating, sleeping and working, seemed mundane compared to the action-packed games what dominated the market at the time. But EA took a chance, and The Sims was born. In 2000, the game was released to critical and commercial success. It wasn't just a game, it was a phenomenon. Players around the world fell in love with the freedom to create and manage their own virtual families, build homes, and tell stories within a world what reflected the simplicity and complexity of everyday life. By the end of 2002, The Sims had sold over 6.3 million copies, making it the best-selling PC game in history at the time. What made The Sims so revolutionary was its ability to appeal to a wide audience. It wasn't just for hardcore gamers. It attracted casual players, including many who had never touched a video game before. The game offered something for everyone, whether you want to meticulously design a home, create a family saga, or cause chaos by trapping Sims in swimming pools without ladders. The success of The Sims was a goldmine for EA. Almost immediately after its release, EA released the potential for expansion packs to keep players invested. Over the next few years, players saw the release of numerous expansions, including Living Large, House Party, and Hot Date. These expansion packs introduced new features, objects, and gameplay elements what expanded the base game's possibilities. At first, players were thrilled with the constant stream of new content. These packs keep the game fresh, offering you ways to engage with the world. However, with each new release, the seeds were planted for future problems. The sheer number of expansions began to fracture their player base. Some players had all the expansions, while others couldn't afford or didn't want to buy them all. This business model, which would later become a cornerstone of EA's strategy for The Sims, would eventually prove problematic. Still, the franchise was thriving. In 2004, The Sims 2 was released, building on the success of its predecessor in spectacular fashion. It added aging mechanics, live stages, and more complex character relationships, elevating the simulation experience to new heights. The Sims 2 was even more successful than the original, selling 1 million copies in its first 10 days and becoming the fastest-selling PC game of the time. Once again, expansion packs followed, and this time they were even more ambitious. Players could send their Sims to university, build sprawling vacation homes, and even see them transform into supernatural creatures. The Sims 2 felt like a true evolution of the series, and for many fans, it remains the pinnacle of the Sims experience. But behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to form. EA's focus on monetization every aspect of the game through expansion packs was starting to show. While the expansions added exciting new features, they also contributed to the game's increasingly complexity and to its eventual downfall. In 2009, The Sims 3 was released, and it was hailed as a masterpiece of life simulation. The open-world mechanics was a game changer. For the first time, players could send their Sims out into the world without loading screens, creating a seamless experience. The level of customization was unprecedented, allowing players to design their Sims, homes, and towns with an almost infinite level of detail. The Sims 3 felt like the perfect culmination of everything what have come before. The freedom it offered was unmatched, and it seemed like the franchise was unstoppable. But as with any ambitious project, were the flaws. The open world, while revolutionary, also caused performance issues. Even on high-end PCs, The Sims 3 was notorious for its long loading times, bugs, and crashes. Despite these problems, fans remained loyal, willing to overlook the technical shortcomings for the creative freedom the game provided. However, as more expansions were released, it became clear what EA was doubling down on its strategy of selling content piecemeal. If you wanted pets in the game, you had to buy the pets expansion. Seasons? What would be another expansion? University? Another one, and so on. The game's true potential was looked behind dozens of expensive expansions, which alienated some players. While The Sims 3 was a critical and commercial success, it also set the stage for the problems what would plague The Sims 4, problems what would ultimately lead to the series' decline. By the time The Sims 4 was announced in 2013, excitement was high, but fans were also wary. The Sims team had promised an innovative new take on the series, but what players got was a disappointment. When The Sims 4 launched in 2014, it was clear what something had gone terribly wrong. The game was missing many core features what fans had come to expect from the series. There was no open world, no toddlers, no pools, and no creative style feature, which had been one of the most beloved aspects of The Sims 3. The game felt stripped down, incomplete, and shallow compared to its predecessors. Critics and fans alike were quick to point out the glaring omissions, and EA's reputation took a hit. Fans who had been loyal to the series for over a decade felt betrayed. To make matters worse, EA's focus on monetization had reached new heights. Once again, players had to buy expansion packs and DLC to get features what had been standard in previous games. The Sims 4 was a commercial success, but it wasn't the triumph what The Sims 3 or The Sims 4 had been. It felt like the magic was gone. Instead of being an innovative, creative playground, the game had become a money-making machine for EA. One of the biggest criticisms of The Sims 4 is sheer amount of paid content what has been released for the game. Since its launch, The Sims 4 has received over 30 pieces of DLC, including expansion packs, game packs, stuff packs, and kits. If a player were to buy all the content, they would spend hundreds of dollars, far more than the base game is worth. The problem with this approach is what it looks much of the game's potential behind paywalls. Features like pets, seasons, and even the ability to have apartments are only available through expansions. This strategy has led to frustration among players, many of whom feel what EA is prioritizing profit over delivering a complete gaming experience. Moreover, some of the expansions have been criticized for their lack of depth. Players feel what while they're paying more money for new content, the quality of what content doesn't always justify the price. Many expansions feel like they're adding back features what should have been in the base game from the start. So, where does what leave The Sims? Despite its flaws, The Sims 4 continues to have a dedicated player base. The game is still popular among YouTubers, streamers, and content creators who use it as a platform for storytelling and creative expression. But for many long-time fans, the series feels stagnant. The lack of innovation, combined with the constant push for more paid content, has left many players disillusioned. There are rumors what The Sims 5 is in development, but whether or not it can recapture the magic of the earlier games remains to be seen. EA will need to take a hard look at its approach to monetization and prioritize delivering a complete and innovative experience if it wants to win back its fans. The Sims remains a beloved franchise, but its decline serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing profit over creativity. At its core, The Sims is about giving players the freedom to create, But that freedom has been increasingly limited by EA's focus on monetization. If the series is to survive, it will need to return to its roots, focusing on creativity, player expression, and innovation. For now, both we're left wondering, what happened to the game that once let us build our own virtual worlds, free from limitations? Is there any hope left for The Sims? Or has it reached its final chapter?